You're not my wife. There were three things everyone at Crosswell Consulting knew about Natalie Cross. She never arrived late. She never repeated an instruction. And she never lost control. At 11:38 on Friday night, I discovered there was apparently a fourth rule. She would not let me have a fifth whiskey. My hand had barely touched the glass when Natalie took it away. I stared at the empty space in front of me. Then at her. Did you just steal my drink? Yes. You're my boss. Excellent observation. That doesn't give you ownership of my whiskey. You've had enough. Around us, the celebration continued. Our team had spent 6 brutal months closing the Hawthorne account, the largest contract our division had won in 3 years. Everyone was drinking like Monday had been permanently canceled. Everyone except Natalie. Of course. She sat beside me in a black dress that made it extremely difficult to remember she was the same woman who had rejected 17 slides of my presentation because the margins were inconsistent. Give it back. I said. No. Natalie. Jason. You're abusing executive authority. You're drunk. I am celebrating. You tried to toast the coat rack 10 minutes ago. It supported the project. Across the table, my coworker Marcus nearly spit out his drink. I pointed at him. See. Marcus understands leadership. Marcus immediately looked away. Coward. Natalie pushed a plate toward me. Eat. I stared at it. No. Jason. I'm 31 years old. And currently behaving like 19. I don't want food. You haven't eaten since lunch. I paused. How do you know that? Her expression changed for half a second. Then the Ice Queen returned. Because you complained at 4 that you were hungry. I did, yes. I don't remember that. Exactly. I leaned back and studied her. Natalie Cross had been my boss for almost 3 years. 35 years old. Brilliant. Elegant. Terrifying. The kind of woman who could walk into a room full of senior executives and make every man there sit straighter without raising her voice. She was also, at that particular moment, cutting my steak because apparently I had lost knife privileges. This is humiliating. You'll survive. You've been controlling me all night. You tried to order tequila after whiskey. That's called diversification. No, that's called tomorrow's regret. She placed the plate in front of me. Eat. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was 3 years of Natalie telling me when to arrive, when to leave, which tie was inappropriate for a client meeting, when my reports needed revision, and apparently now how many drinks I was allowed to have. I pushed the plate away. You know what? Natalie looked at me. What? You're not my wife. Marcus suddenly became very interested in leaving. 2 co-workers near us went silent. I continued anyway. Office hours are over. Jason, no. Alcohol had apparently appointed me CEO of bad decisions. You bossed me around all week. Fine. You're literally my boss. Natalie's eyes narrowed. But after work, I pointed between us. You're not my wife. So why are you still bossing me around? Silence. Not normal silence. The kind of silence that makes a drunk man realize he may have accidentally said something important. Natalie stared at me. I expected anger. Instead, something strange happened. Her expression softened. Then she asked, Is that the problem? I blinked. What? That I'm not your wife? Marcus stood. I'm leaving. Nobody stopped him. I laughed. No, that is not what I find. Natalie stood. She picked up my jacket. Then my phone. Then her purse. I stared at her. Where are you going? We are what? Leaving. I'm not finished celebrating. You are. There you go again. She put my jacket over my shoulders. I struggled uselessly with one sleeve. Bossing me around. Yes. You see. Yes. You're proving my point. Natalie stepped closer. I expected another lecture. Instead, she looked directly into my eyes. Then marry me. My brain stopped. What? You said I have no right to boss you around because I'm not your wife. I was making a point. So am I? Natalie. She picked up her car keys. Let's get our marriage certificate. I stared. Right now? Right now? I laughed. She didn't. My laughter slowly died. You're serious? Completely. You want to marry me? Yes. Tonight? Yes. Because I complained about whiskey? Among other reasons. That answer should have concerned me. It didn't. Because drunk Jason had just been handed the most dangerous challenge of his life. I stood. Fine. For the first time all night. Natalie looked surprised. Fine. You think I'm scared? I think you're intoxicated. You proposed to an intoxicated man. I'm aware. I held out my hand. Let's go. She stared at it. Then at me. Jason. What? Her voice changed. Suddenly serious. If we leave this restaurant, I'm going to make sure you understand exactly what you're agreeing to before anything happens. Okay. And if you say no at any point, we stop. Okay. This isn't a joke. I smiled. You started it. Something almost like fear passed through her eyes. Then she took my hand. And 20 minutes later, sitting in the back of a car with Natalie Cross beside me, I began to suspect I had just turned a drunken argument into the most important night of my life. I had no idea she had been waiting for it much longer than I had. Chapter 2. I woke up with a Wi-Fi woke the next morning with 3 problems. My head hurt. I was wearing yesterday's pants. And Natalie Cross was asleep beside me. I stared at the ceiling, then slowly turned my head. Dark hair across the pillow, bare shoulder beneath the blanket. Peaceful face. Natalie. My boss. In my bed. No. I whispered it because saying it louder felt dangerous. Memories returned in fragments. The restaurant. Whiskey. The argument. You're not my wife. Then her answer. Then marry me. I sat upright too quickly. The room spun. Jesus. Natalie moved beside me. Her eyes opened. She looked at me for 2 seconds. Good morning. I stared. She sat up. Water is on the table. I looked. Water. Painkillers. And a document. I grabbed it. My heart stopped. Certificate of Marriage, Jason Michael Reed. Natalie Evelyn Cross. I read it twice. Then a third time. No. Natalie took the water. Yes. We got married. Yes. You actually married me. You actually married me too. I was drunk. You were sober enough by the time we signed. I tried to remember. More fragments came back. Coffee. A long wait. Natalie making me drink 2 bottles of water. A clerk asking whether I understood what I was doing. Me saying yes. Then the clerk asking again because Natalie insisted. I remembered laughing. I remembered signing. I remembered Natalie's hand shaking. That detail came back with surprising clarity. I looked at her. You were nervous. She froze. When we signed. No. Your hand was shaking. You were drunk. So you admit I remember. Her mouth tightened. I almost smiled. Then reality returned. Wait. I looked under the blanket. Pants. Still on. Natalie understood. Nothing happened. I exhaled. Then immediately felt guilty. Not that I know. She climbed out of bed. She was wearing one of my t-shirts. My brain became useless for several seconds. Natalie. What? Why are you wearing my shirt? Because sleeping in a dress is uncomfortable. Right. She walked toward the bathroom. I watched her. Then looked back at the certificate. Natalie. She stopped. We should probably undo this. Her back remained toward me. The room became very quiet. Undo. Annulment. Divorce. Whatever applies after less than 12 hours. She turned. Her face was perfectly controlled. Too controlled. Is that what you want? I don't know. Then why say it? Because normal people don't marry their bosses after 5 whiskeys. 4. What? I stopped the 5th. I stared. Not important. I disagree. Despite everything. I laughed. Natalie didn't. I rubbed my face. I need to think. Then think. You're surprisingly calm. I've had more time. I lowered my hands. What does that mean? A beat. To sober up. Something about the answer felt wrong. Before I could question it, she walked into the bathroom. The door closed. I looked at the marriage certificate again. 5 minutes later, Natalie emerged dressed in yesterday's clothes. Perfect again. Almost. Her hair was still slightly messy. I held up the certificate. So what happens Monday? At work? Yes. Nothing. Nothing. You remain senior strategy manager. I remain executive director. And nobody knows? Not yet. You want to hide it. I want us to decide what this is before we make it everyone else's business. That was reasonable. Disturbingly reasonable. I stood. So last night. Yes? You seriously wanted to marry me? Natalie looked at me for a long moment. Yes. Why? Her expression softened. But she didn't answer. Instead, she picked up her bag. Eat something. I laughed. There you go again. What? Bossing me around. She looked at the certificate in my hand. Then back at me. For the first time that morning. Natalie smiled. It was small. Dangerous. Beautiful. You married me. I had no response. She walked to the door. Good morning. Husband. The door closed. I stared after her. Then at the marriage certificate. 12 hours ago. Natalie Cross had been my boss. Now she was apparently my wife. And somehow the most disturbing part wasn't that I'd married her. It was how naturally she'd said husband. Chapter 3. My boss became worse after marriage. Monday morning taught me an important lesson. Marriage did not make Natalie Cross nicer. At 9:07, she rejected my report. At 9:23, she rejected the revision. At 10:02, she called me into her office. I closed the door. She didn't look up. The projections on page 14 are inconsistent. They're conservative. They're lazy. You slept in my bed Saturday. Her eyes snapped up. I smiled. Does that improve page 14? No. Then don't use irrelevant information. You called me husband yesterday. That was Sunday. Marriage has office hours? Yes. I laughed. She didn't. Redo it. I turned toward the door. Jason. I looked back. She slid a paper bag across the desk. What's that? Breakfast. I ate. You had coffee. I frowned. How do you know? You always call coffee breakfast when you haven't eaten. That stopped me. Always. I took the bag. Inside was an egg sandwich without cheese. Exactly how I ordered it. You know my breakfast order? Natalie looked back at her computer. Close the door on your way out. That night, she came to my apartment carrying groceries. You're here. Yes. Why? I live here. I stared. Since when? She held up her left hand. No ring. We hadn't bought rings. Still, I understood. You have your own apartment. So do you. That sentence makes no sense. She walked past me. Within 20 minutes, she had inspected my refrigerator. You have nothing edible. I have food. You have mustard. For kinds. That isn't a meal. Your criticism of my mustard is becoming personal. She ignored me, then opened a cabinet. Where are your stomach tablets? I frowned. What? The antacids. Bathroom. You moved them? Moved them from where? She froze. Never mind. I stared at her. How did you know where I used to keep them? I've seen you take them. When? At work. I accepted that. Mostly. Over the next week. More things happened. Natalie knew I hated cilantro. She knew I slept badly if I drank coffee after 4. She knew I called my mother every Sunday. She knew the scar on my left hand came from a bicycle accident when I was 17. That one stopped me. We were eating dinner when she mentioned it. I put down my fork. How do you know that? Natalie froze. You told me. When? A long time ago. I don't remember. You don't remember many things. That isn't reassuring. She changed the subject. I let her. But I started noticing. The woman I'd thought barely paid attention to anything outside work had somehow accumulated a detailed map of my life. And then there were the smaller things. She'd leave before me in the morning so nobody saw us arrive together. At the office, she treated me harder than everyone else. At home, she waited if I worked late. One night, I returned at 11:30. She was asleep on my sofa with her laptop open. Dinner sat untouched on the table. 2 plates. I woke her. You waited? Her eyes opened. No, you made 2 plates. I wasn't hungry. So you didn't eat because you weren't waiting for me? Correct. You're terrible at lying. She stood. You're late. There it is. What? The wife thing. Her expression shifted. What wife thing? You act like you're annoyed. But you're actually worried. I wasn't worried. You texted me 4 times. Work-related. The messages had been asterisk, asterisk, where are you? Asterisk, 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 are you still at the office? Asterisk, 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 have you eaten? Asterisk, asterisk, and finally asterisk, asterisk, Jason. Answer me. I smiled. Very professional. Natalie walked toward the kitchen. I caught her hand. She stopped. I suddenly realized we'd been married 9 days and hadn't kissed since the night we signed the certificate. I remembered that kiss now. Brief. Soft. Natalie had looked at me afterward like she'd done something she'd wanted to do for years. I looked at her. She looked at me. The air changed. Then her phone rang. She pulled away. Cross. CEO voice. I laughed quietly. She glared. But as she walked away, I saw the color in her cheeks. And for the first time, I wondered whether I'd misunderstood our marriage completely. Maybe Natalie wasn't learning how to be my wife. Maybe she'd already known how to take care of me long before I became her husband. Chapter 4. She had everything ready. The discovery happened because I needed a charger. Natalie had finally convinced me to spend Saturday at her apartment. Calling it an apartment was dishonest. It occupied the top 2 floors of a building overlooking the river. You live here alone? Yes. This place has 4 bedrooms. 3. I counted 4. 1 is an office. That is still architecturally a bedroom. She ignored me. Natalie had a video call at 11. My laptop battery was dying. Do you have a USB-C charger? Office. Second drawer. I went in. The room looked exactly like Natalie. Clean. Precise. Almost aggressively organized. I opened the second drawer. No charger. I opened the first. Pens. Third. Documents. I was about to close it when I saw my name. Jason Reed. I froze. There are few situations in which finding a folder labeled with your full name in your boss wife's private office feels normal. This wasn't one. I pulled it out. Inside was a copy of my identification information, then a marriage registration checklist, then a legal consultation, then a draft prenuptial agreement. I stopped breathing. The date at the top asterisk asterisk 3 months ago. 3 months before the Hawthorne celebration. 3 months before the whiskey. 3 months before asterisk asterisk, then marry me. I kept reading. A memorandum from an attorney outlined procedures for marriage between a senior executive and an employee. Conflict of interest disclosures. Reporting line changes. Asset protections. Confidentiality options. There was even a handwritten note. Natalie's handwriting. Jason must retain independent counsel. No company attorney. My stomach tightened. Another document. Possible reassignment structures that would remove me from Natalie's direct supervision. Another note. No negative career impact under any outcome. Any outcome. I heard footsteps. Natalie entered. She stopped. Her eyes dropped to the folder. Everything changed. Jason. I held it up. What is this? Silence. Natalie. She closed the office door. I can explain. You prepared marriage documents 3 months ago. Yes. No denial. Somehow that made it worse. The prenup? A draft. The conflict review? Yes. My information? All legally obtained from information you provided for employment records. I stared. That is not the reassuring sentence you think it is. I know. 3 months. Yes. I flipped through the documents. You had everything ready. Not everything. Enough to marry me. She didn't answer. I thought back to that night. Her instant response. Then marry me. The car. The documents. How quickly everything had happened once I was sober enough to confirm. My chest tightened. You planned it. No. You had a file with my name on it. I prepared. For what? Her silence lasted too long. For the possibility. What possibility? That you might someday want me. That stopped me. Natalie looked away. For once. The Ice Queen seemed unable to hold my gaze. I stared at her. You prepared a prenup because you thought maybe someday I'd ask you out? No. Then what? She inhaled slowly. I knew what I wanted. Marriage? Yes. With me? Another pause. Yes. The word landed hard. How long? She said nothing. Natalie. Long enough. I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. So the restaurant wasn't spontaneous. My proposal was. Was it? Yes. You had marriage paperwork ready. I didn't bring it to dinner. You knew exactly what to do. Because I'd researched it. Why? Her control cracked. Because I wanted to marry you. Silence. Natalie almost never raised her voice. Now she stood in the center of her perfect office, breathing hard. I didn't know what to say. She continued more quietly. I didn't know it would happen that night. I didn't know you'd say what you said. I didn't know I'd lose my mind and answer the way I did. But yes. She looked at the folder. I had thought about it. A lot. Clearly. Her face tightened. I regretted the sarcasm immediately. But another thought had already formed. Why didn't you just tell me? I couldn't. Why? You work for me. So everything becomes complicated the moment I tell you. She stepped closer. If I asked you out and you said yes, I'd wonder whether you were afraid to say no. If you rejected me, you'd wonder whether it would affect your career. If we dated, everyone would question every opportunity you earned. Her voice softened, and I didn't want my feelings to become your professional problem. I looked down at the folder. Yet marriage somehow wasn't a problem. A sad smile appeared. No, it was an incredibly stupid solution. I almost laughed. Almost. Then I found something else beneath the legal papers. A printed reservation confirmation. Dinner for 2. 3 months ago. Cancelled. Another. 2 months ago. Cancelled. Another from 6 weeks ago. Cancelled. All under Natalie's name. I looked up. You were going to ask me out. She didn't answer. How many times? Jason. How many for? I stared. What happened? I changed my mind. For times, yes. Why? Her answer was barely above a whisper. I was afraid. That word sounded impossible coming from Natalie Cross. You. Yes. Afraid of me? No? Then what? She looked directly into my eyes. Afraid you'd say yes. I frowned. That makes no sense. It does to me. She took the folder gently from my hands. If you said no, I could survive being embarrassed. But if you said yes, her fingers tightened around the papers. I would never know whether you chose Natalie or your boss. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. The anger was still there. But now it had nowhere simple to go. I thought about every morning she'd brought me food, every late-night message, every detail about me she'd remembered, the antacids, the coffee, the scar, the canceled reservations. Then another question surfaced. If you were so afraid of me saying yes for the wrong reason, why marry me when I was drunk? Her face went pale. I didn't. You did. No. She stepped closer. I proposed when you were drunk. The distinction mattered to her. But I waited. Memories returned. The car ride. Coffee. Water. Walking around outside in the cold. Natalie asking me 3 separate times if I wanted to go home. Me refusing. The clerk. The questions. Natalie insisting we wait longer. You made me sober up. Yes. How long? Almost 4 hours. I stared. And when you signed, you were coherent. I know. If you'd hesitated once, I would have taken you home. Her voice broke slightly. You didn't. I remembered standing beside her. Remembered looking at the form. Remembered saying, asterisk, asterisk, you know I'm going to remind you forever that you proposed because I complained about whiskey. And Natalie answering asterisk, I'll take the risk. I had laughed. Then signed. The memory was clear now. Painfully clear. I looked at her. So you didn't trick me? No. But you were prepared. Yes. And you've wanted this for months. Natalie didn't answer. I stepped closer. Longer. Her eyes gave her away. My heartbeat changed. How much longer? She shook her head. That isn't what matters. It matters to me. Jason, how long have you wanted to marry me? She looked at me for several seconds. Then said, long enough to know you hate cilantro. I laughed despite myself. That is not an answer. It is the only one you're getting today. She tried to walk past. I caught her hand. She stopped. The folder remained between us. 3 months of legal preparation. For canceled dates. 3 years of unexplained attention. And 1 drunken sentence that apparently gave Natalie Cross the opening she'd been too afraid to create herself. I looked down at our hands. Then back at her. 1 more question. What? When you said, let's get our marriage certificate right now, she waited. You'd already been hoping I'd marry you. Her ice queen expression disappeared completely. Yes. No hesitation this time. Just truth. And suddenly the most impulsive decision of my life didn't feel impulsive at all. At least not for both of us. I had walked into that restaurant believing Natalie Cross was simply my controlling boss. I had walked out married to her. Now, standing in front of a folder she'd prepared months before I ever challenged her to stop bossing me around, I finally understood something far more dangerous. My wife hadn't decided she wanted me that night. She had been waiting for me to give her permission to admit that she already did. Volume 2. My boss had been waiting for me. Chapter 5. The marriage was planned for 3 days after I found the folder. Natalie became impossible to read. At work, nothing changed, which somehow made everything worse. Page 9. I looked up from my laptop. What about it? Your risk assumption is wrong. It's conservative. It's lazy. You married me. Her eyes lifted. Jason, I'm just establishing context. This is a budget review. And yet my wife is insulting my modeling. Your wife is also your boss. That sounds unhealthy. Marcus, sitting 2 chairs away, stared very hard at the ceiling. Nobody knew. At least, nobody officially knew. But Marcus had begun noticing things. Natalie knew when I skipped lunch. I knew when she had a migraine before she said anything. She never criticized anyone else's tie. I never argued with anyone else about mustard. Apparently, marriage created patterns. At 6:40 that evening, Natalie sent me a message. Come upstairs. I replied asterisk work or wife? Asterisk asterisk 3 dots appeared. Both. That answer got me moving. Her office was empty except for her. No laptop. No reports. Just the same folder from Saturday. She pushed it toward me. I want you to read everything. I sat. Everything, yes. Why now? Because you're imagining worse things than the truth. That is a very CEO sentence. Read. I opened the file. The prenup draft was more detailed than I expected. Her assets protected. Mine protected. No claim on future company shares. Independent representation required. Employment firewall. Mandatory reporting line change if the marriage became public. There was even a clause stating that if we divorced, Natalie could not interfere in my employment for 12 months. I looked up. You thought this through? Yes. Too much. Probably. I kept reading. Then something surprised me. The draft contained no financial penalty if I left. No confidentiality clause about our relationship. No requirement that I remain married through any fixed corporate period. I frowned. If you needed a husband for some legal reason. This is a terrible contract. Natalie went still. What legal reason? I watched her. You tell me. She folded her hands. My father has been arranging introductions for years. I know that now. That doesn't mean I needed you to solve them. Then why prepare marriage documents? She exhaled. Because I knew if I ever did tell you how I felt, I didn't want the first conversation afterward to be with company lawyers. I stared. That's your explanation? Yes. You prepared a prenup before asking me to dinner. I like preparation. You canceled 4 dinners. Yes. So the preparation worked brilliantly. Her mouth twitched. I continued reading. One memo had a title *** potential spouse conflict review, J. Read ***, my chest tightened. How much did you investigate me? Natalie's expression changed. Professionally, that answer is already worrying. HR file. Public financial disclosures. Reporting structure. No private investigation. No dating history. No. No credit report. No. No one following me. Her eyes narrowed. Do you think I'm insane? You had a marriage folder? Fair. I laughed despite myself. Then another page caught my attention. A handwritten note ***, do not create career dependency. If he says yes, move him out of direct reporting line within 30 days. I read it twice. You plan to move me. Only if we became a real couple. You thought about this before we even dated. Yes. Why? Her voice softened. Because I knew what people would say. That I slept my way up? Yes. That you promoted your husband? Yes. That everything I earned came from you? Yes. There was no hesitation. Natalie looked directly at me. I wanted you. A pause. I did not want your career. Something inside me loosened. Not completely, but enough. I closed the folder. So the marriage was planned. Her jaw tightened. No. The possibility was. Yes. You'd prepared for it. Yes. But you didn't know it would happen that night. No. And if I had said no, I would have taken you home. What about the family pressure? I would have dealt with it. How? The same way I've dealt with it for 10 years. By terrifying everyone. That helps. I smiled. Then asked the question that mattered. Did you need a husband? Natalie was quiet. I wanted one. That isn't the same. No. Did you need me? Her eyes held mine. No. The answer hurt for half a second. Then she continued. I chose you. That was different. Much different. She stood. So now you know. Not everything. You're exhausting. You married me. Unfortunately. I got up. What aren't you telling me? Natalie looked toward the window. Jason, that tone means there's something. She turned back. You're right. My smile disappeared. What? There is a reason my father was pushing harder than usual. Of course. The family. Yes. What happened? She picked up her phone. Tomorrow. No. Tomorrow. You cannot end conversations like quarterly meetings. I can when I'm your boss. I stared at her. Then, after work, a faint smile. I'm your wife. Exactly. She walked past me. And somehow, I knew the truth she'd hidden next would be the one that actually tested whether this marriage could survive. Chapter 6. She had loved me before she became my boss the next day. Natalie didn't explain her father. Instead, she destroyed my understanding of the previous 3 years. It started with a box. A courier left it at my desk at noon. Inside was an old notebook. Mine. I recognized it immediately. 3 years ago, before Natalie became my direct boss, I had attended an industry conference in Boston. I'd lost the notebook somewhere between the hotel and the train station. My first major strategy model was inside. So were half my personal notes. I looked at the card. You asked what I remember. Start here. An ***, I called her. You had my notebook? Yes. For 3 years, yes. You stole it. I found it. You didn't return it. I tried. When? Page 4. I opened the notebook. Tucked inside was an old hotel receipt. A handwritten note on the back. Jason Reed, Crosswell Consulting. Please return. Below it, a date. 3 years ago. I remembered that night vaguely. Rain. A hotel bar. Someone crying outside near the side entrance. I had sat beside a woman for maybe 40 minutes. I never saw her face clearly. Her mascara was smeared. She wore a baseball cap. We talked about nothing important. Or so I thought. I stared at the notebook. Natalie. Yes? That was you. Silence. The woman outside the conference. Yes. I sat back. You knew me before you became my boss. Yes. How much before? For months. My pulse changed. I remembered that conversation more clearly now. She had said her father wanted her to make a decision she hated. I had assumed family business. I told her asterisk, don't let other people call fear responsibility. Asterisk, then asterisk, and don't marry someone because everyone says it makes sense. Asterisk, I closed my eyes. Oh my God. Natalie was quiet. You remember? Yes. You gave me your jacket. I was trying to be nice. You missed your train. I missed trains often. You stayed until my driver came. I didn't know you had a driver. She almost laughed. I know. I looked at the conference receipt. Why didn't you tell me when you joined Crosswell? Because you didn't remember me. That's not a reason. It was to me. What happened after that night? I went home. And I refused the engagement my father wanted. There it was. I stopped moving. You were already being pressured to marry someone? Yes. Who? Christopher Vale. I knew the name. Investment banking family. Old money. Old connections. Exactly the kind of man someone like Natalie was expected to marry. Did you love him? No? Did you even like him? Not enough. And I told you not to. You told a stranger not to marry someone for convenience. That stranger turned out to be terrifying. That came later. I smiled. Then another memory surfaced. A month after Natalie became my boss. My mother had surgery. I asked for 2 days off. Natalie gave me 7. Was that because of us? No? Be honest. I am. She paused. You needed 7 days. How did you know? You were trying to do client work from a hospital cafeteria. Fair. What about my stomach medication? You had an ulcer scare 6 months later. You remembered. Yes. The promotion? You earned it. The recommendation for the Sterling project? Not mine. The raise? Comp committee. You're telling me you never secretly helped? Natalie went silent. I smiled. There it is. One thing. What? The training program. I frowned. What training program? Leadership development. 2 years ago. You nominated me? Yes. I thought Melissa did. She signed. You submitted. Yes. Why? Because you were qualified. That is annoyingly reasonable. I try. I leaned back in my chair. Everything looked different now. Her strictness. Her attention. The details she remembered. Not newlywed behavior. Not sudden obsession. 3 years. She had been loving me quietly while deliberately keeping her hands off my career. And I had spent most of that time complaining that she was too controlling. Why didn't you tell me before you became my boss? I was going to. When dinner? Canceled. Twice. Why? Because the promotion happened. You became my direct supervisor. Yes. And that ended it. For me. I rubbed my face. That is insane. So is marrying after a whiskey argument. You started that. Yes. Her voice softened. And I would do it again. My chest tightened. I wanted to say something. Then Marcus appeared beside my desk. He looked at my phone. Then me. You've been smiling at your screen for 5 minutes. I'm working. You look disgusting. Thank you. He leaned closer. Is this about your mystery wife? I froze. Natalie heard him through the phone. I ended the call immediately. Marcus's eyes widened. Oh, go away. You are absolutely hiding something. Marcus. Fine. He walked 3 steps. Then turned. Your secret wife wouldn't happen to be terrifying. Would she? I stared. He grinned and left. My phone buzzed. Natalie asterisk asterisk, he knows something. I typed asterisk, he suspects everything. Her reply asterisk, fire him. I smiled. You can't. He doesn't report to you. 3 dots. Then asterisk asterisk, I can restructure. I laughed out loud. Maybe marriage hadn't made Natalie worse. Maybe I was just finally seeing the woman who had always been there. Chapter 7. Did you marry me because you needed me? The truth about Natalie's father arrived Thursday evening. Not from Natalie. From her father himself. Richard Cross invited me to dinner. No explanation. No Natalie. Just asterisk asterisk Mr. Reed. I think we should speak privately. I showed Natalie the message. Her face immediately changed. No. That is a strong reaction. You're not going. I think I should. You think incorrectly. He already knows. Yes. About us. Yes. I stared. For how long? Since Monday. You were going to tell me? Tonight. Convenient. Jason. I took my jacket. I'm going. She followed me to the door. Do not let him frame this. Frame what? Her silence was answer enough. Richard Cross looked like an older male version of Natalie. Same controlled voice. Same eyes. Less warmth. He didn't waste time. You married my daughter. Yes. Impulsively. That depends who you ask. His expression barely changed. Do you know why? I'm beginning to. Then she told you about Christopher Vale? Yes. Good. He took a sip of wine. Natalie was expected to announce an engagement this month. I went still. She told me you pushed. I did. Why? Because the veil partnership matters. To the company, to the family. That distinction mattered. Richard continued. She knew the deadline. What deadline? Family trust review. There it was. My stomach tightened. Natalie omitted that. She likely thought it irrelevant. Tell me. Richard leaned back. If Natalie remained unmarried through the current trust restructuring, several family voting proxies could shift temporarily. To whom, me? I stared. So you wanted her married before the review? I wanted stability. To Christopher. Preferably. Why him? Known family. Known assets. Known interests. Everything I wasn't. Richard looked at me carefully. And then she married you. The sentence wasn't insulting. It didn't need to be. I suddenly saw every document differently. Marriage research. Prenup. Conflict review. Timing. 3 months. Family deadline. I stood. Thank you. Richard frowned. We haven't finished. I have. I left before I said something stupid. Natalie was waiting at my apartment. Of course she was. She stood the moment I entered. Jason, did you need to be married before the trust review? Her face went pale. There. The answer. Yes. I laughed once. No humor. Unbelievable. Listen, you told me you didn't need a husband. I didn't. You literally did. No. She stepped closer. I needed to make a decision about the trust. You solved it by marrying me. I solved nothing. Then what would have happened if you stayed single? My father would temporarily gain voting proxies. And if you married Christopher, the review would be simpler. And if you married me, the clause still becomes harder for him to use. I stared. So I helped. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because that was not why I married you. How am I supposed to know that? Her eyes filled. Because I prepared those documents before my father gave me the final deadline. I stopped. What? The legal folder started 3 months ago. Yes. The trust deadline became urgent 6 weeks ago. I stared. That helps. A little, not enough. She flinched. I hated that. But the question had already formed. Did you marry me because you loved me? Or because you needed someone before they chose a husband for you? Natalie opened her mouth. Then stopped. Silence. 1 second. 2. 3. Wrong answer. I stepped back. Jason. No. I was trying to answer honestly. You hesitated. Because both things happened at the same time. My chest tightened. There it is. That doesn't mean I need space. Her face went white. Don't. The word came out too fast. Too vulnerable. I looked at her. I'm not leaving the marriage tonight. But I can't stay here pretending I know what it means. I walked toward the bedroom. She followed. What are you doing? Packing. Jason, I need to know I'm not your escape route. You aren't. You had a family deadline. I loved you before it existed. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid. Her voice cracked. We both stopped. Natalie pressed her lips together. Then, quieter, I was afraid if I told you after the deadline appeared, you'd believe exactly what you believe now. That hurt. Because it was true. I packed anyway. Not because I wanted to punish her. Because I needed one thing neither of us had ever had. Distance without power. Chapter 8 this time. I walked away. I moved into a hotel for 12 days. Natalie did not stop me. That hurt more than if she had. On Monday morning, I submitted a formal transfer request from strategic advisory to operations development. Different division. Different executive chain. No direct reporting relationship with Natalie. Melissa Grant called me within an hour. You understand this slows your promotion track. Yes. You're 1/4 away from director review. I know. And you still want the transfer? Yes. She studied me. Personal reason. No? That was a lie. A professional lie. She knew it, but accepted it. By noon, the request reached Natalie. At 12:17, my phone rang. I stared at her name, then answered. Hi. Your transfer request. Yes. You want operations? Yes. A pause. Why? You know why. Her voice became colder. Say it. Because I need my career separated from our marriage. It already is. On paper. Jason, I need to know I can leave your team without leaving you. Silence. Then, okay. That wasn't what I expected. Okay. I'll approve it. The answer stung. Fast. Clean. No fight. Right. She heard it. Jason. What? You wanted independence. I do. So I'm giving it. Right. She was quiet. Then, is that all? I almost said yes. Instead, no. Another silence. I miss you. Her breathing changed. I miss you too. That was worse. Neither of us knew what to do with it. The next morning, the transfer was approved. No delay. No special review. No retaliation. I told myself that was proof Natalie didn't care enough to fight. 3 days later, Melissa called me into her office. She handed me the approval memo. You should read the executive note. I frowned. Why? Because you look miserable. I opened it. Natalie's comments were at the bottom. Approved immediately. Mr. Reed's career must remain independent of any personal relationship with me. His advancement, compensation, and professional mobility must never depend on whether he remains married to me. I read it twice. Melissa said nothing. I looked up. She wrote this. Yes. Why show me? Because people often mistake letting go for indifference. That sentence sat in my chest. I left her office and called Natalie. No answer. I went upstairs. Her assistant said she had gone home early. Natalie Cross never went home early. I found her apartment dark except for the kitchen. She was sitting at the counter. No laptop. No makeup. A glass of water untouched beside her. She looked at me. What happened? I placed the transfer memo down. You. Her eyes dropped. Then away. You weren't supposed to see that. Why? Because it wasn't for you. Then who? Everyone who handles your career after you leave my team. I stared. You let me go because you love me. Her jaw tightened. That sounds melodramatic. It is. Jason. I moved closer. I thought you approved it because you didn't care. Her face broke. Not dramatically. Just enough. Do you have any idea how hard it was to sign? I stopped. She looked at me. You asked for something that proved I wouldn't use power to keep you. Her voice shook. So I gave it to you. I sat beside her. Neither of us touched. Not yet. I was wrong about one thing. I said, what? I thought the question was whether you needed me. She looked down. And the real question is whether you would still choose me if I was free to walk away. Natalie's eyes filled. Would you? I didn't answer immediately. Because I wanted the answer to be clean. Not guilt. Not attraction. Not fear. I don't know yet. Pain crossed her face. I continued quickly. But I'm still here. She looked at me. And I want to understand why you chose me before any of this started. Natalie was silent for a moment. Then she stood, walked to a cabinet, removed a small envelope. Inside was an old photograph. 3 years ago. Boston. A hotel entrance. Rain. Me. Standing beside a woman in a baseball cap. Natalie. My stomach tightened. What is this? The hotel security manager sent it after I lost your notebook. I stared at the image. That forgotten night. The stranger I helped. The woman I'd told not to marry someone because everyone else expected it. Natalie looked at the photo. That was the night. What night? Her voice softened. The night I fell in love with you. I forgot how to breathe. No board deadline. No trust clause. No family engagement. 3 years earlier. Before she was my boss. Before she had any reason to need a husband. She looked at me. If you still think I married you to escape my father after you know the rest, her eyes shone. Then I'll sign whatever you want. I stared at the photograph. For the first time since I moved out, I understood something. The next decision belonged completely to me. And Natalie was finally willing to risk that I might choose to leave. Volume 3. You're Not My Wife, Chapter 9. The night she fell for me spent 20 minutes staring at the photograph. 3 years ago. Boston. Rain shining on the pavement outside the hotel. Me in a dark jacket. Natalie in a baseball cap. Head lowered. Looking nothing like the woman who would later terrify half of Crosswell Consulting. I remembered the night now. Not perfectly. Enough. The conference had ended badly for me. My presentation had been cut from the agenda after a senior partner decided a client dinner mattered more. I had been angry, tired, and ready to catch the last train home. Then I saw a woman sitting alone near the side entrance. No umbrella. No coat. Just a phone in her hand and tears she was clearly trying to hide. I almost kept walking. Instead, I asked, "Are you okay?" She had laughed without looking at me. Do I look okay? No. Then why ask? Politeness. That had made her look up. Even then, her eyes were sharp. I sat beside her because the rain was getting worse. I gave her my jacket. She resisted, then took it. For 40 minutes. We talked. I never asked her last name. She never asked mine until the very end. She told me her family wanted her to agree to something permanent because it was good for everyone. I assumed business. Then she said, they think I should marry him. I remembered laughing. She had looked offended. Sorry. I said, I'm not laughing at you. Then what? At the phrase, they think I should marry him. She stared. It's complicated. Probably. You don't know my family. No. You don't know what's at stake. No. Then why do you sound so confident? Because you look miserable. She had gone quiet. I remembered the exact sentence I said next because now, standing in Natalie's kitchen 3 years later, I heard my younger voice as clearly as if someone had played a recording. Don't marry someone because everyone else says it makes sense. Natalie had looked at me. I continued, if you want him, marry him. If you don't, then the rest is just pressure wearing expensive clothes. She had stared for a long time, then asked, what if saying no disappoints everyone? I shrugged. Then everyone gets disappointed. She laughed. A real laugh. That was the part one had forgotten. When her car arrived, she tried to return my jacket. I told her to keep it. She asked my name. Jason. Jason what? Reed. Then I ran for my train. Missed it anyway. The next morning, I forgot the whole thing. Natalie didn't. Now she stood beside me in silence. You kept the jacket? Yes. Where? My closet. You have had my cheap conference jacket for 3 years. It wasn't cheap. It was $60. I had it dry cleaned. I laughed. Of course she did. Then the humor faded. You really fell in love with me that night. Natalie looked embarrassed by the phrase. I didn't know it was love. What did you think? That you annoyed me. That feels more believable. She almost smiled. I thought about you constantly. Still annoying. Yes. She sat across from me. For months later, I accepted the role at Crosswell and found out I worked there. Yes. What was your first reaction? Panic. I laughed. Natalie Cross panicked. I considered declining the role. That surprised me. Because of me? Because once I had authority over you, everything became harder. There it was again. Not a woman trying to use power to get closer. A woman afraid power would contaminate every choice. So you decided not to tell me. Yes. For 3 years. I did not expect it to become 3 years. Yet somehow you found time to prepare a marriage folder. Her ears turned pink. I smiled. Then another question surfaced. Did your father know about me before the trust deadline? No. Christopher? No. Anyone? Melissa suspected. Why? She noticed I knew your schedule better than hers. I laughed. Natalie looked annoyed. It was not funny. It is now. Then I became serious. If the trust deadline had never happened, what? Would you still have married me that night? She answered immediately. Yes. No hesitation. No calculation. Just yes. That mattered more than I wanted it to. I looked at the old photograph again. Then why did you hesitate when I asked if you married me because you loved me or because you needed someone? Her expression changed. Because I did use the timing. I waited. She continued. The family deadline made me reckless. You mean brave? No. She shook her head. Reckless. I had wanted you for years. Then suddenly there was pressure. And you gave me the exact sentence I had secretly imagined hearing. You're not my wife? She almost laughed. Yes. I heard it and thought. She looked away. This is ridiculous. What? I thought. Then fix it. I laughed so hard she glared at me. That is deeply unromantic. I know. But honest. Yes. I put the photograph down. For the first time, the story felt complete. She had loved me before she became my boss. She had hidden it because she didn't want my career tangled in her feelings. The trust deadline didn't create the marriage. It simply gave her fear a deadline of its own. And then I got drunk enough to say the one sentence she had been waiting 3 years to answer. I looked at her. I'm not ready to move back tonight. Pain crossed her face. But she nodded. I understand. I'm not asking for divorce. She looked up. I'm asking for time. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. Okay. I stood. At the door. She called. Jason. I turned. She held my old jacket. You want this back? I looked at it. Then at her. No. A tiny smile. Keep it. 3 years ago, I gave a stranger my jacket and told her not to marry someone because everyone else wanted it. Now that stranger was my wife. And for the first time, I was beginning to believe she had married me because she wanted me, not because she needed anyone at all. Chapter 10. She never needed a fake husband. The final piece came from Richard Cross. Unexpectedly, a week after I moved into operations development, he requested another meeting. This time, I almost declined. Then Natalie said, go. I looked at her across the conference table. You trust him? No. Then, I trust you. That was new. So I went. Richard met me in his private club. Same controlled voice. Same unreadable expression. But this time, I wasn't intimidated. He placed a folder on the table. Before you ask. No, I am not trying to separate you. That is a promising start. You misunderstand my daughter. I'm beginning to think that runs in the family. His eyes narrowed. Fair. He opened the folder. Inside were trust documents. I read the relevant clause. Then read it again. Something didn't fit. The voting proxies. Yes. If Natalie remained unmarried, you could petition for temporary consolidation. Yes. Petition. Correct. Not automatically receive them. Richard said nothing. I looked up. You made it sound like she had to marry. No. She could have challenged the petition. Yes. And probably won. A pause. Possibly. I laughed without humor. So she never needed a husband. No. That changed everything. She knew. Yes. You told her marriage was preferable. I did. But she could simply refuse Christopher and fight the trust issue. Yes. I leaned back. Then why did you tell me she was expected to announce an engagement? Because she was. Expected is not required. No. I stared at him. You wanted me to think she used me. His expression remained neutral. I wanted you to understand the pressure she was under. You chose an interesting way. I wanted to know what kind of man she had married. There it was. Another test. I hated powerful families. And Richard studied me. You left her. For 12 days. Yes. You sound pleased. No. He closed the folder. You left her professionally before you left her personally. What does that mean? You transferred departments instead of leveraging your marriage. I needed my own career. Exactly. Richard looked toward the window. I did not want Natalie marrying Christopher. That surprised me. What? He would have been politically convenient. But he would have treated marriage like a merger. You say that like you didn't arrange the idea. I did. Contradictory. I am a father. That doesn't explain much. It explains more than you think. He sighed. I believed Natalie needed someone who understood her world. And now, I think she needed someone who could tell her no. I laughed once. That I can do. So I've heard. I left with the trust documents. That evening, I went to Natalie's apartment. She opened the door and immediately knew. My father. Yes. What did he tell you? That you never needed to marry anyone. Natalie went still. I told you that. You said you didn't need me. I did. I thought you meant emotionally. That too. I stared. She almost smiled. Then I held up the trust documents. You could have fought the proxy petition. Yes. You could have refused Christopher. Yes. You did not need a fake husband. No. I stepped closer. So the marriage folder was for you. Not the trust. No. The timing accelerated because of the trust. Yes. But the choice, her eyes held mine, was you. Something inside me finally settled. I had spent weeks asking whether I was an escape route, a convenient husband, a strategic shield. I wasn't. Natalie had already spent 3 years refusing to use me that way, even when marriage would have made her life easier. She prepared protections for my career first. The trust pressure didn't make her choose me. It simply made her stop waiting. I looked at her. What now? Her face became cautious. That depends on you. No argument. No? No prepared plan. I have several. I laughed. Of course you do. But I won't use them. That mattered. I want you to decide. I thought about the first night. The whiskey. Her taking the glass away. My ridiculous anger. You're not my wife. And her answer. Then marry me. I smiled. What? Nothing. You're terrible at nothing. You taught me that. I stepped closer. This time, I want to do something sober. Natalie stopped breathing. I kissed her. Not because she was my boss. Not because she had waited 3 years. Not because we were already legally married. Because I wanted to. When we separated, her eyes were wet. Jason. Yes? Are you coming home? I looked around her enormous apartment. No. Her face fell. I smiled. You're coming home with me. She stared, then laughed. And that night, for the first time, Natalie Cross moved into my apartment not because paperwork said we were married, because I asked her to. Chapter 11, then stop acting like my boss. Going back to work after reconciliation should have been simple. It wasn't. Natalie was still Natalie. At 9:30 Monday morning, she walked into an operations review and rejected my proposal in front of 12 people. This timeline is unrealistic. I stared. It is aggressive. It is fantasy. You slept in my apartment last night. The room went silent. I realized what I had said. Natalie stared at me. Melissa covered her mouth. I recovered. Because we worked late. Worse. Much worse. Natalie's eyes warned me to stop immediately. I looked at my notes. Timeline revised. Meeting continued. Afterward, she pulled me into an empty office. What was that? A professional disagreement. You announced that I slept in your apartment. I corrected myself. You made it worse. Probably. She rubbed her forehead. We need to disclose. I stared. The marriage? Yes. Now. You're no longer in my reporting line. True. The trust review is complete. True. And Marcus has started asking whether I own a toothbrush at your apartment. I laughed. He noticed? He notices everything useless. So we tell HR and the executive committee, and then everyone. Natalie looked uncomfortable. For someone who had married me almost without warning, she was strangely nervous about telling people. I understood why. Once public, every promotion I received would be questioned. Every disagreement between us would become gossip. Every decision she made involving my division would be examined. But hiding forever would be worse. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay, yes. That easy, no? I stepped closer. But I don't want our marriage treated like a mistake we're ashamed of. Her expression softened. The disclosure took 48 hours. HR updated reporting safeguards. Melissa became the formal executive reviewer for anything involving me. Then the internal announcement went out. It was painfully boring. Executive disclosure. Natalie Cross and Jason Reed have informed the company of a legally recognized personal relationship. Appropriate reporting and conflict protocols are in place. Marcus appeared at my desk 30 seconds later. Legally recognized personal relationship. I looked up. Yes. You married Natalie Cross? Yes. His mouth dropped open. You married the Ice Queen. She dislikes that name. She married you? Technically, we married each other. He sat down. When? After Hawthorne. His eyes widened. The night you got drunk? Yes. Oh my God. Keep your voice down. You shouted at her that she wasn't your wife. I froze. How do you know that? I was there. Right. He laughed so hard, 3 people looked over. This is the greatest thing that has ever happened. To you? Yes. That afternoon, Natalie called me upstairs. I entered. Closed the door. She looked at my latest report. This section needs work. I smiled. What? Nothing. You're doing it again. What? Bossing me around. She put down the report. Jason. Office hours. Yes. I checked the clock. 6:04 p.m. Then stood. Actually, office hours are over. Her eyebrows lifted. So, I walked around the desk. You remember the rule. What rule? After work. Stop acting like my boss. Her face softened. Then what am I supposed to be? There it was. The question we'd been moving towards since the night we married. This time, no alcohol, no family deadline, no fear. I took her hand. My wife. Natalie looked at me. Really looked. Then smiled. Your wife still thinks the report is bad. I laughed. Of course she does. She kissed me. And for once, Natalie Cross did something completely unprofessional after 6. I approved. Chapter 12 bossed me around for the rest of my life. We held the wedding 6 months later. Technically, we were already married. Natalie called it a ceremony. Marcus called it the sequel. My mother called it the wedding I should have been invited to the first time. Natalie apologized to her for 20 minutes. I enjoyed that more than I should have. We kept it small. Family, friends, a few colleagues. No business partners. No trust lawyers. No Christopher Vale. Richard came. He surprised everyone by giving a short toast. I spent years believing Natalie needed someone who understood power. He looked at me. I was wrong. Marcus whispered, "Here comes the insult." Richard continued, "She needed someone unimpressed by it." I raised my glass. Better. Natalie squeezed my hand. After dinner, I found the bar. Whiskey. Naturally. The bartender poured one. Then another. I reached for a third. A hand appeared. Removed it. I slowly turned. Natalie. White dress. Wedding ring. Expression exactly the same as the first night. Enough. I laughed. This feels familiar. You have had too. It's a wedding. Our wedding. Exactly. She replaced the whiskey with water. Drink. I stared. Are you seriously bossing me around at our wedding? Yes. Office hours are definitely over. I'm aware. You know what I told you last time. Her eyes softened. I remember every word. I leaned closer. You're not my wife. Why are you bossing me around after work? Natalie raised her left hand. The ring caught the light. Because now I am your wife. I laughed. Fair. Then I took the water. One condition. What? Keep doing it. Her eyebrows lifted. What? Not the PowerPoint criticism. Unfortunately included. Not the mustard audits. Absolutely included. I sighed dramatically, then pulled her closer. Boss me around for the rest of my life. Natalie stared. Careful. Why? That sounds like permanent consent. Don't make it legal. Too late. I know attorneys. I laughed. Then she kissed me. Across the room. Marcus shouted. Someone take away his whiskey before they get married again. Everyone laughed. Natalie buried her face briefly against my shoulder. For once, the Ice Queen was embarrassed. I loved it. 3 years earlier, I had sat beside a stranger in the rain and told her not to marry someone because everyone else thought she should. I forgot the conversation. She built a life around remembering it. Then she became my boss. Loved me quietly. Prepared for a future she was too afraid to ask for. And one night, after I had enough whiskey to complain that she wasn't my wife, Natalie Cross finally stopped being afraid. She challenged me. I said yes. At first, I thought alcohol had created our marriage. Then I thought family pressure had. Then I worried I had simply been the most convenient man available. I had been wrong every time. The truth was simpler. Natalie had wanted me long before she needed anything. And when I finally became sober enough to understand what I wanted, I chose her back. She took the whiskey glass farther away. I sighed, still controlling. Yes, still my boss, not after work. Then, she smiled. Your wife. This time, I had no argument.